How would you like to own your home outright? What would it feel like to never make a mortgage payment ever again? On our Mortgage Freedom series today, we're going to interview someone who paid off their mortgage at 32 years old. And now he and his wife have a lot more money to enjoy. David Venis is our guest today. David and his wife Stephanie live in East Central Illinois with their awesome Vizsla pup named Abby. Welcome to the show, David. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Andy?
I'm great. So, David, tell us why you decided to pay off your mortgage.
The short story is that payment was just a burden. It just felt so uncomfortable. And it probably wouldn't have been as big a deal, but the long story, the long version of this is we were actually mortgage free. We owned a home prior to this one for about 4 years. And of course, over that 4-year time, we saved some money and started looking for farmhouses, things out in the country, something that we can make our own. And Stephanie found something, and she actually bought it while I was away on work. She signed all the paperwork and bought it herself. And over that time, I started getting into the personal finance and learning more about it. And we talked about it, and we thought, oh, surely, that's good debt. A mortgage is good debt. So we'll just do the 20% down. We'll plan to pay it off in 9 years, and we'll invest the rest of it. And when we did that, it just didn't work out that way. When we got that mortgage back, that sense of burden came back so hard, and it just felt like the bank was holding something over our head. Now, the bank was nice. Nobody ever said a word. Of course, mortgages are normal, but for us, it wasn't right. So we turned it on and threw everything we had at it to get it going.
That's cool. So what about having the mortgage? Because I felt the same way too, David. What about having it just felt like a weight on your shoulders? What aspects of having the mortgage made you feel that way?
I think the primary thing was just actually the interest payment, the interest amount. The loan was, $161,000, and the interest rate was 4.5%. And so while in comparison to a lot of things, that's not that much, but that's still $600 to $700 a month you're paying somebody to borrow money, and it just couldn't take it. That just wasn't for us.
Yeah. So whose idea was it originally to say, hey, let's get rid of this thing and not have it anymore? Was it your idea? Was it Stephanie's idea?
I think it was a little more Stephanie's at first. I kind of always felt like I wanted to pay it off a little faster than the 9 years, but I was still in like the 5 to 7 year range. And Stephanie, she takes care of our day-to-day monthly expenses. She handles that side of it. And I spend a lot more of my time looking at the 3 to 5 year and then the 30-year stuff on past that. So it was her idea. She started looking at it, playing with the numbers. She built herself a little Excel spreadsheet and a graph, started anticipating if we paid, an extra 100 here, an extra 500 there, what would it do? And she came up with a plan to pay it off in 5 years. And then the ball just kept rolling and rolling, and we actually paid it off in just less than 12 months.
Wow, that is incredible. In 12 months, you paid it off?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had saved quite a bit of money for this new farmhouse, and we knew it was going to need some updates. And it didn't have any heating or air conditioning, no air ducts, needed new electrical, new water. So we lived in our old home. We spent 6 months renovating it, getting it to a livable state. And then when we sold our other house, we got really lucky. Our other house sold in a month. Mm-hmm. And so the plan was, we were just going to take that cash and go ahead and invest it. We weren't going to put it into the house. But the way everything lined up, we got that big chunk of cash, and we thought, we could take this money, put it on the mortgage, and then we're only 5 to 6 months away from having this thing totally paid off. So wow. Once we made that big payment with the proceeds of the other house, we've always had sinking funds for cars, sinking funds for vacations, general savings. We drained them all. And we even talked ourselves into thinking, well, worst case scenario, we could use our Roth 401ks because we've had them for about 5 years now. We could use those as an emergency fund. So we even dipped into our emergency savings a little bit too. We knew we were so close that we just threw everything we had at it.
Wow, that's incredible. So how much did you make from the proceeds of the previous house to hit on this $161,000?
It was about, let's see. So we made about 77,000 or 78,000. And we actually went and made a $65,000 payment. Because at this point, we're still planning on like a 3-year payoff plan, maybe a 2-year payoff plan. But once we hit it that first time and the interest payments cut in half, it's like, oh man, we're that close. Okay, let's do it again. And so it got to the point where a month later, we're like, okay, now let's go ahead and drain that car fund. Both cars are in decent shape. I like working on cars, so I'm not afraid to fix a wheel bearing or a set of tires or something like that. So we did that, and yeah, it just snowballed.
That's incredible. So you had so you get $65K to throw at it right away, and that takes it down to like less than 100. And then you're looking at the savings that you guys have built up because you're smart and frugal, and you have all these different funds, and you say, well, we're doing pretty good. Why don't we just throw it at there? So how much of the savings did you throw at the number? Because that probably took it a little bit below 100, and then you started throwing savings at it. Was that like another 50 or something?
Well, yeah. So we sold that other house April 26th, I believe it was. And May 20th, we made a $65,000 payment. Uh-huh. May 31st, we made a $59,000 payment. June 20th, we made another $11,000 payment, and that drained us of just about everything but our emergency savings.
That's awesome. And then from there, you just started making payments?
Right. We had to wait until I got, we both have jobs. I had to wait for paychecks to come in. And so we went in on a Thursday. I was going to get paid on a Friday, and we actually went in on a Thursday and went ahead and paid the mortgage off. But I needed the money from the check that was coming the next day. So we were banking that banks were still as slow as they always were, and they were. So it worked out.
Oh, that is hilarious. So you finished paying off your mortgage before you had enough money in your checking account to pay off your mortgage.
Yes.
I love it. That's so cool. Wow, that is a hero story, man. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And I love it. So I have so many questions. Okay, so what do you guys do for a living? Just so I'm understanding to help people understand what you guys do.
Yeah, so Stephanie works in the billing department of a alarm and monitoring company, and then I work for a large oil and gas company, a pipeline company. In fact, my company is the primary supplier of natural gas for the city of Detroit.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem. Think of me in the winter.
We do, my friend. We do. We love our natural gas here in the wintertime in Detroit. Absolutely. So, David, talk to me about how you guys got in this mindset of developing all of this savings beforehand. What triggered in your life where you said, hey, I need a car fund, I need an emergency fund, I need all these funds to make sure that I'm taking care of myself in the future? How does somebody get into that mindset so that they are prepared for a moment like this in their life?
Well, Steph, she's really the one that started that. She's always been a saver, a hard worker. When I was growing up and I got my first job, I wanted to work on cars. I wanted to be an auto mechanic. And I don't know if you know this, but auto mechanics, their prized possession is their toolbox. And so I had a bunch of money tied up on credit cards in toolboxes. I couldn't seem to get it through my head that you got to pay that credit card off when you use it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like that stuff adds up. And she had tried to talk to me about it, but I don't know. I guess I didn't really get it. And I worked for 2 years at that dealership and was really struggling to make ends meet. It just wasn't my style of work. I got real fortunate to get the job with the oil and gas company. And I was living on my own for 6 months. We moved from southern Indiana to to central Illinois. And and Stephanie stayed over at over in Indiana. So I'm by myself for 6 months. And at that point, we're starting to transition bills to the new place. I open a credit card bill, and that's when it finally hit me. It's like, what in the world is this? And of course, Stephanie says, I've been trying to tell you for 2 years. So it really was her. I think, we've both heard that women, they're nest makers, they're homemakers. They have that real strong security gene. And, that really, wanting to take care of her, that really, I guess, affected me. And then by getting this new job, I wanted to work so hard. I wanted to prove myself that I deserve this job. I've earned this job. I can do this job. So I think all of that kind of combined of, okay, I'm 21 years old. I'm still relatively young. I've got time to turn this around. And that's exactly what we did.
I love that. I love that story. I love that story of partnership. Also of, hearing your spouse out but then coming to it in your own way. Like, yeah, I heard you, but then I needed to see it on paper in front of my face to say, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's how we work, right?
That's right. Absolutely. How did you guys celebrate? What are you guys doing now with the extra money that you have?
So first thing is Stephanie's really been wanting to go to Hawaii. So we just booked a trip last week. We're going to Hawaii this December, getting out of the cold weather and going and spending 8 days out in Hawaii. So we're both really looking forward to that. It'll be our first time. And yeah, super excited. As far as the extra money, we're building some savings back up. Stephanie's car and my truck are both at about 150,000 miles. They both have plenty of life left in them, but we're going to go ahead and get that car fund back up to where we want it. That way we've got the cash sitting there if and when she's ready for something new. And then after that, we're going back to a few more home projects. And I am still kind of a car nerd. I still like cars. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting a new to me truck, a couple-year-old truck, and doing some performance stuff to it.
What's like the truck? Tell me what the truck is that you want to get.
Well, it's just it's an F-150, just a regular Ford F-150, but I want a crew cab because I have a work truck. So my personal truck doesn't get driven a whole lot, once every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, but we go to see family with it that lives about 90 miles away. So I got to have something that I can throw everybody in, all of our stuff in, be super comfortable, but I don't want just any truck. I want my truck. So I plan to do some performance upgrades and make it get from A to B really quick.
That's awesome, man. That's great. I love that, and I love how you guys are going to Hawaii to celebrate and then making some fun future plans. So there's somebody listening right now that's saying, I want to pay off my mortgage, man. This sounds great. What advice would you have for them if they wanted to start today to try to figure this out?
So the first thing is, it kind of comes back to that 401k and the Roth stuff. We automated that system for us, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, really made it where all that money is coming out before we even see it. And we coordinated it with raises, with bonuses, with, changes to the regular payment. And we always budget for 2 paychecks a month, even though we're going to have a couple of months every year that has a third paycheck. So setting everything on automatic, on autopilot, it really makes a difference. It sounds so simplistic and everybody says that, but it really is the case. If you set that stuff up before you see it, and then you go ahead and set it up to increase your contributions or increase your savings rate before you even see it at a raise, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. And kind of continuing with that thought, we used to set goals for ourselves. Okay, we want to save this much money this year. And then we would hit that goal in September. It's like, well, I wasn't that conservative with my numbers. How did we get there? And so we've learned now that whatever number we think we can hit, we go ahead and up it by 15 or 20%. Like, we go ahead and throw that goal out there because I promise you, if you want it, you'll get it. I mean, something will happen and that you never expected, and you will get there. So don't doubt yourself. Go ahead and set that goal out there just a little bit farther. And even if you don't hit your new goal, I promise you, you're still going to hit the goal you thought you could get, and probably still a little bit more.
I love it, man. That's great. That's very motivating, and it's such a true statement too. If we make some aggressive goals, not way too far out there goals, but goals where you feel like that's aggressive, I think as you're saying, you get there. Cool. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing with us today. This is an awesome story, and I really think it's going to inspire some people today. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for reaching out. Have a good evening.